was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. Something got the
Hey, what is up, y'all? We are back with another action figure review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the SH Figuarts Tekken 8 Jin Kazama. Quick disclaimer, I have not played Tekken 8, but I've seen my fair share of matches on YouTube. The game looks good. I do plan on getting it eventually. I'm a little backed up when it comes to fighting games right now. I haven't played Tekken since they introduced Eddie Gordo. It was either him or Lei Wulong for me, but this design is freaking awesome. They switched up the jacket, still retaining his badass look. The front of it says varsity, the back of it says I'm a biker. And then the belt on the leg tells the ladies that I'm artsy and sensitive. Maybe I might start wearing the belt on my leg. The silver on his boots is a nice touch, and it plays its part well in breaking up the darker colors of his lower area, as well as keeping life into this figure's outfit. And all the detail does not go unnoticed. You can see the sculpted ridges for that zipper. That looks great. And all that detail for the shirt looks really stylish. Bandai Namco was one of the developers of Tekken 8. And I don't know if that's an extension of Bandai, but if it is, that would make sense why they would put more effort into this figure. Now, the figure looks good, but it's not perfect. I'm seeing some paint spotting or something going on at the shoulders. I'm not sure what's going on with that, and I have scratched this figure a couple times from dropping it, so that paint is chipping a little bit, but the design, those little wings on his coat are raised, so that's awesome. Got some softer plastic for his bangs, and I wouldn't say his face is spot on the Tekken 8 Jim, but it looks close enough. I can't really tell what color those eyes is. I'm gonna have to go back later and check that out, but I do appreciate the paint and shading for his face. That looks pretty good. He got a softer plastic towards the end of his coat, and on the surface it might look like he's got two different jackets on top of his shirt, but they are partly glued to his V-neck. At one point, a piece dropped off of this figure, and it took me a while trying to figure out where the piece came from, so I ended up temporarily attaching it to the belt that's on his leg, only to later discover that it actually comes from the belt that's on his waist. The connection for those pegs aren't the most secure, but I think I'd rather have it like that than glued, and then you got a hard plastic piece that doesn't move or swap out for his hoodie. For your accessories, so Jin here comes with a decent array of options. Once again, you got no stand, no effect piece, but he does come with a decent spread of hand options, though. That's pretty cool. I like the ease of moving his arms, too. This figure moves really well. The paint job for the hands is not the best, but it's not that bad. And then you do have a slight flex for the fingers. He's got 3 different relaxed style pose hands, so I wish one of those was a grip hand. 2 of those sets might look really similar, but one is cupped a little bit more than the other one. He's got 2 different head sculpts. We already took a look at his neutral head sculpt straight out the package. Looks like he's got a slight grimace to it. That's kind of cool. Then you have this head sculpt, and there's 2 things I noticed about it, and I don't know if I'm tripping or not, but it looks like you could almost use this one as like his double Jin head sculpt. And if you look at it, it almost looks like the eyes is following you, kind of like that Jack-specific Mario from Target. I don't know. I must be tripping. Anybody else see it? Then you have his yelling head sculpt, which is not my favorite. It doesn't quite look like he's yelling. No, this is the face that does it. Like, look at the eyes. It looks like them joints is following you. I'm not tripping. They probably didn't do it on purpose. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Very well, Jin Kazama. I challenge you to a duel. Hey, you're not supposed to.
For your articulation, so Jin here has actually got some pretty decent movement. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised with how well he can move around and how fun he is to pose. Double ball joint at his neck is a little tight, and as you can see, they did put a dip at the front of the neck. I mean, so far it's kind of working for me. The overall effect when you're taking photos and posing and stuff, it's not really going to be as jarring as like Revoltech. But because of the scope work at the end of his hair, he doesn't look up as much as I would like him to. So any dynamic posing where the enemy is dropping down on him is going to be a little tricky. And I just want to point out how seamless that transition looks, where his shoulder ends and the coat starts. Looks very natural. Light shimmy at the elbows, but you can rotate those forearms, which rotates independently of the hands. So that's pretty cool. I don't think there's a butterfly joint at the shoulders, but the range is kind of decent. You got a double joint at the elbows. If you bend that joint that's closest to the wrist, you can etch out just a little bit more range. I think overall you'll be all right. Universal joint at the wrist, but you're not going to get a whole bunch of range due to those sculpted cuffs. My main issue with the figure is actually going to be with this lower portion. I really like the way they designed the legs, though. You got that drop down. It's not wiggly or anything. I think his thighs may be just a little bit too big, but it's a lot of tension right there. It's a lot of tension all around this figure. So you do have that floating Spider-Man Dragon Ball piece at the thighs. I would have liked more range at the knees, and the issue I had with this figure is his ankles. Because of the way they sculpted the shoes, it's kind of curved up at the end, so it makes it tricky for him to balance. He could have used more range really all the way around. It's no swivel at the boot, but there is a swivel at the ankle, so I'm grateful for that. I didn't really talk about the belts too much, so of course they got a flex to it. The belt around his waist is glued in the back. It's a separate piece that's glued to that runs around to his leg, which is a separate piece as well. So be careful how you're handling all of that. For an SH Figuarts figure, I'd say his torso movement is not too shabby. It's a little more limited at that joint that's at his chest, but he does go back a decent amount. If you go too far, you will expose a gap at his shirt. I think I'll accept it. Use both of those joints and you can hit a sick dynamic crunch. For your size comparisons, here we have him next to your NECA, your Mythic Legions, and your Hasbro. Next, here we have him next to your Jack Pacific Mario, your Foosh Ninja, your Game Dimension Jin Kazama, and your Storm Collectibles Jin Kazama. And lastly, here we have him next to your PC Toys, your SH Figuarts Dragon Ball, your Jada Toys, and your Kotobukiya Zero Model Kit. So final thoughts on the SH Figuarts Tekken 8 Jin Kazama. I'm having much more fun than I thought I was going to have with this figure. Honestly, like when I first saw the preview images, I thought he looked great, but I wasn't really too sure given SH Figuarts' track record. I think the buckle at his belt was supposed to have some color to it, maybe some shading around the neck and the chest, but other than that though, and the likeness not being completely there, I'm gonna give him a 9 for his look. He looks great. This figure was $48 and something cents on AmiAmi before shipping, so given all that he comes with, I say he comes with a pretty decent amount, so that's a fair price right there. He doesn't come with the stand, he doesn't come with an effect piece, and I wish one of his hand sets was swapped out for an item holder hand. That would have been pretty cool, but for the price I paid, I'm gonna give him a 9 for his accessories. I don't know what factory SH Figuarts is using now for their figures, but it looked like they struck gold, man. I have not one single loose joint on this figure. Even his toe joints are really good. And I am ecstatic to report that some parts I would even say is a little too tight. I had to put some silicone shark oil into the shoulders when I first got it. And the issue with him balancing is not so bad I can't get him to stand, so I think I'm gonna give him a 9 for his quality. When it comes to the articulation, I wish he had more range at those ankles and the head as well, but I do like that drop down. Like, it's nice and stiff. You can lift it up to get his legs up past the halfway mark, so I really like when figures can do that. He's got some really good shoulders and some really dynamic options. I'm gonna give him an 8.9 for his articulation. I hear the price for this figure has jumped, so that kind of sucks, and I'm not really sure how deep I'm gonna go with this line. I mean, that Nina that's coming out, I wish they did an earlier version. I'm not really feeling that new design, but I am optimistic for what they do next. If you're asking if I recommend this figure, absolutely not. Have you watched the video? I'm just kidding. Final score, I'm gonna give him a 9. All right, y'all, that's the video. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.